Praise Yahuwah, brothers and sisters. Praise the Most High, the Sovereign One. Truly the only one who's worthy to receive any praise or honor or esteem. Today I'm coming back to you regarding the Torah and where I have been falling short and not following it by the letter, not living by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High, my Creator. So when all this was coming to me, and I told you in the audio, am I keeping the Torah? It was shocking to me to realize that all that I thought I had done, all the progress I thought I had made, and not that I hadn't made that progress, not that I hadn't come out from religion, and not that I wasn't still changing and learning, but I saw that straight and narrow road was going to need to be a little straighter, that I didn't realize that I was peering over on the other side or just wasn't doing everything I needed to do when it was presented to me that we need to be really keeping the law, not just knowing that it hasn't been abolished, but keeping it. So, so some things were really like zeroed in on, and I took care of one great big thing. Well, they're all big. But I took care of one situation. It was amazing how that was freeing. It was like, okay, all right. Well, Father, I know you supply all my need. So where this is gone now, I mean, I didn't miss it. I didn't regret it. It was just shocking to see how this system has actually, they know the law and how they have used it to keep us far from following Father. So anyways, and I don't want to be getting into things unless he tells me to do things, because I don't want to be one that's seemingly, I just want to be doing what he tells me to do when he tells me to do it. So this is between you and him, even though we all have got to follow it to the letter. But we all are in different places, and we don't want people discouraged. When I was in one group of religion, we ran a lot of people away by making them do what thus saith the pastor. And though he would use the word, one verse says, don't use that word, Yah's word, as a cloak of maliciousness. And so a lot of times people used it to control people instead of let the Ruah lead and guide and raise people up to that measure of righteousness. They were telling people, and they would banish people, and they would punish people, openly shame people, and do these different things. And so I want to be led by him when he tells me to share whatever he tells me to share that he's done for me. And if he says that this is what we have to do, I have to be bold enough and brave enough and courageous enough to say what I have to say. But I do not want to be guilty of leading anyone astray, causing anyone to be in confusion, or anyone to feel like they can't do it and they throw up their hands. So, but anyway, so when I was getting started, I remember reading so many years ago in Deuteronomy 6, how he gave instructions, how we are to teach our children when we're walking, sitting, just all the time talking about it, having it at our doorposts. And then I remembered, the frontlet between my eyes. I was thinking, oh, Father, okay, all right. If that's what I got to do, I got to do it. Okay, I can't let anything stop me from not doing what I got to do. Okay, but in this age, it's going to be, okay, all right, just let me, okay, all right. And then when I reread it, I was, thank you, Father. It's not that I have to do that, even though a certain group of people do that. It's going to be as frontlets between my eyes, because it's going to be constantly before me. I'm going to be meditating on, am I doing this correctly? Oh, I remember reading something in the law that says you can't do that. Oh, let me get counsel. That's what it meant. But I was preparing myself to do it if I had to do it. And may we do that. May we say, Father, you're worth it. You're worth it, because the end is always going to be greater. Always going to be greater when we're obedient. So we're going to the other side, brothers and sisters. Remember when the disciples took Yahushua as he was in the ship? He said they were going to go over to the other side. And then on that journey, they had this great storm. And he was where? In the bottom of the ship, sleeping on a pillow. And they accused him of not caring, that they were going to perish. Not realizing that if he said we're going to the other side, no matter how it stormed, no matter how it looked, we're going to the other side because he spoke it. And so we're going to the other side. He wants us to be commandment keepers. He told us to observe his Torah, to delight in his laws. And so we got to do it, and we're going to make it. And if we recall too, after Joshua took over and they had gone through so much and the original leaders were gone, both Aharon and Musa were gone, and Joshua was now commissioned to take the people over to the land that had been promised to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And they had to cross over the Jordan, and they had to lay 12 stones. But that's a story you can read about. I'm not going to get into that. So we're crossing over, getting closer to the promised land. Last night, as I was talking to him, I was like, "Oh, Father, this feels like sackcloth and ashes times." Like, bearing our being, just saying, "Wow, okay, all right." There was another layer of religion on me and didn't know it, cloaked and disguised under the name belief and following. Read it, it's just so much, but we cannot be deceived. In Philippians 2:13 it says, "For it is YAHUAH who works in us both to will and to do of his good pleasure." So when we read that and we remember that the very reason why Yahushua told those who were knocking on the door that they wanted to come in, he said, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity." Because prior to that, he said, "You did not do the will of my Father. Even though you're saying you did this in my name, you raised the dead, you healed the sick, you visited those that were in prison, you fed those that were hungry, and did all those things in my name. You didn't do the will of the Father." What, Father? That's not your will? It goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. 2 Timothy 2, verse 3-5 says, "You therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahuwah." And this is hardness. To kill this flesh, to throw it all away to follow Yahuwah, to pick up our cross and follow him. There's a dying of this old man that has to take place. Verse 4, "No man that wars entangle himself with the affairs of this life." If we're warring against this flesh and against the things of this world to follow him, we are not to be entangled again with the affairs of this life, so that we can please him who has chosen us to be a soldier. "And if a man also strives for masteries, yet is he not crowned except he strive lawfully." So no matter how we work at mastering something, if we don't do it lawfully, we're not going to be crowned. We may stand for a little while, but the covering is going to come off. They say what's done in darkness is going to be seen in the light. We have to do things, and this is in the natural, lawfully. To get degrees in college, we're supposed to do it lawfully. But like I said, some people do things and they think they got away with it, but it doesn't last. It is a faithful saying, "For if we be dead with him, we shall also live with him. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he also will deny us." So we got to study to show ourselves approved unto Yahuwah, a workman that needs not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Who are we studying to show ourselves approved unto? Yahuwah. A workman that needed not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. And that's what this, as I'm going to be talking, I don't know how many audios are going to be about this, but however many it is, That's why I'm only going to do what he tells me to do. If he tells me to put the scriptures in the description area, I will. If he doesn't, because he wants each one of you to dig for it, then that's what we're going to do. Because we have to rightly divide. We can't go by what someone told us. It has to be that we know. Verse 19, nevertheless, the foundation of Eloah stands sure, having this seal. Yahuwah knows them that are his. And let everyone that names the name of Yahuwah depart from iniquity. In a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, set apart and meet for the master's use, and prepared, made ready unto every good work. So once again, a separating. In this walk, there are some that are going to be separated to the left, tossed into outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, eternally separated from the Most High. So we have to study to show ourselves approved unto Eloah. We have to work lawfully. We have to not entangle ourselves with the affairs of this life. We have to endure hardness as a good soldier, because he's chosen us to be a soldier. If a man therefore purge himself from the things that are dishonorable, we shall be vessels of unto honor, set apart and meet for his use, and prepared and made ready unto every good work. So now I want to share with you some verses from the Torah. I want you to listen to how many times Abba tells his children not to eat blood. He says this so many times that me as a parent, as a teacher, an educator, public schools, I would say this is a definite no. If you do this, a definite no. No explanations will be accepted. I don't want to hear any excuses. The world says it's a deal breaker. Has to be how he's feeling it to have said it this many times. And I may not have got every verse, but there's enough here to let us know that he means what he is saying. Leviticus 7:27. Whoever eats any kind of blood, that person shall be cut off from his people. You know, I also want to do one that says, how many times does it say cut off from the people? Okay, Leviticus 17:12. Therefore I have said to the children of Yashar'el, no person among you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger who dwells temporarily among you eat blood. So, whether we're in the blood lineage of the 12 sons of Yaakov, or we're strangers being grafted in, we are not to eat blood if we're calling ourselves a part of this family, this kingdom. Deuteronomy 12:23. Only be sure that you do not eat the blood, for the blood is the life, and you may not eat the life with the flesh. So you're going to eat flesh, you're going to eat meat, don't have any blood in it. I remember when I first started preparing and cooking venison, the first few times it's like, oh, this tastes funny. And then y'all brought it back to me. That's because the blood is in it. So after that, I rinse deer meat. I squeeze out till, there is no life in it. There is no blood. And so when people around here eat some of my venison, my son might take some to work, and they'll say, this don't even taste like deer. There ain't no blood left in it. It's like, no. The meat tasted different when I was preparing it with the blood. All right. So did I read Deuteronomy 12:23? I'm gonna read it again. Only be sure that you do not eat the blood, for the blood is the life, and you may not eat the life with the flesh. Leviticus 3:17. It shall be a perpetual statute for your generations in your dwelling places, that you eat neither fat nor blood. Deuteronomy 12:16. Only you shall not eat the blood, you shall pour it out upon the ground as water. Deuteronomy 15:23. Only you shall not eat its blood, you shall pour it on the ground like water. Wow, that he repeated that word for word. Deuteronomy 12:16, Deuteronomy 15:23, exact word for word. Genesis 9. Genesis 9, 1 through 4. This is before Musa was given the law to the people. And Yahuwah blessed Noah, he baruched Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moves upon the earth, and upon all the fish of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. But you shall not eat flesh with the life of it, which is in its blood. Leviticus 17 verses 10 through 12. Any one of the house of Yashar'el or the strangers who dwell temporarily among you who eats any kind of blood, against that person I will set my face, and I will cut him off from among his people, that he may not be included in the atonement made for them. For the life of the animal is in the blood, and I give it for you upon the altar to make atonement for your beings. For it is the blood that makes atonement, by reason of the life which it represents. Therefore I have said to the children of Yashar'el, no person among you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger who dwells temporarily among you eat blood. As for the life of all flesh, the blood of it represents the life of it. Therefore I say to the children of Yashar'el, you shall partake of the blood of no kind of flesh, for the life of all flesh is in the blood. Whoever eats of it shall be cut off. Leviticus 7:26. Moreover, you shall eat no blood of any kind, whether of bird or of beast, in any of your dwellings. Leviticus 19:26. You shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall you use magic omens or witchcraft, or predict events by horoscope or signs in any lucky day. 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 25. In closing, know you that they which run in a race run all, but one receives the prize. So run that you may obtain. And every man that strives for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. So in a human race, only one person's going to get the main prize, right? The first place trophy. Others may get some type of recognition, but they're not going to get that one. But we can all get the same one, which is we're striving for eternal life. We want to master. We want to do it with mastery. And yet, the crown we are striving for is incorruptible. Philippians 2:12. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. It's our salvation. That's why we cannot depend on what someone says. Yes, we can learn from other people. I have learned from other people, and I hope someone learns from me, from what I give, not me, but the Ruach as he talks through me. I hope someone learns, but I am not the final say. When we hear something, we take it to Father. And we can be respectful when people share something with us if we don't know if it's him or not. There's never a need to be arrogant or mean. And yet, we do want to defend the truth. So I'm not saying we don't defend the truth, but it's just a way to doing things. And as we read more and more and more of the Torah, we will learn how to treat people. All right. Tehillim 118, verses 19 through 21. Open to me the gates of righteousness. I will go into them and I will praise Yahuwah. This gate of Yahuwah into which the righteous shall enter. I will praise you, for you have heard me and are become my salvation. When we're asking him to help us to do his will, asking him to lead us into the gates of righteousness, do you not know he's going to do it? He's going to do it because that's his will for us to ask. When people say, when they pray, your will be done. What is his will? We need to know what his will is. Or if something doesn't have to say, well, I guess it wasn't his will. Do we know his will? So, his own 22, Revelations 22, verse 14. Baruch are they that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. What city? the new Jerusalem, the bride. Okay, until next time. I just, oh boy. Yeah, it's like taking one step at a time and stopping and saying, Father, is this it? Is this it? And I feel that we will really realize that we are measuring up and that we're pleasing Him. And there's a distinction. Remember, there's a distinction being made. There's so many in this way right now that we know we can go on YouTube and just think. There's so many platforms that we don't even know them all. Who's talking about the name and talking about keeping the Torah. And yet, so many are going to be separated out of the sheep. Remember in Ezekiel, he says he's going to separate the sheep from the sheep, the wheat from the tare. And we want to be among those who He is pleased to call His children. All right, then. Stay encouraged with this. And the only thing we can do, it's like when we fall, we've talked about this before. When we fall in the natural, how many of us going to stay on the ground and let everybody see us? We are jumping up as quick as we can, hoping nobody saw us, right? We are going to get to the other side. Yeah, the light is shining bright on our darkness, but it's Him who enlightens our darkness. And aren't we glad? Aren't we glad while we have time? Oh, and I wanted to share with you too. I put in the description in the one, Am I Keeping the Torah, about the Hallelujah Scriptures having a book that where they categorize the laws. But also what I started doing about 3 days ago is listening to the reading of the Torah. So even, so what happens when I'm listening to the reading, I was like, wait a minute, hold it. I put it on pause and I go get my scriptures and I look it up. And so that's a great way. That's a great way for us to be hearing it. Because we got to win. We got to win. And He has opened the gate to righteousness so that we can walk through it. Because He's already told us in the last book of the scriptures, His own, Baruch are they that do His commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life. They may enter in through the gates into that city. That's the ultimate promised land. Be encouraged, brothers and sisters, and I'll talk to you next time. I love you in Yahuwah. I want us to make it. May we help one another and love one another as He has told us. And that, I got something on that too. But that is, religion tells us to love one another, but they don't have it the way it's supposed to be. We're going to talk about that one day. All right, I love you. Stay encouraged and read, meditate, and delight in His Torah and His laws. I say, Shalom, Shalom, Salam. Peace be unto you. We win in Yah.